Well, Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the All In Show here on Clemson at the Voice of College Football. Thank you so much for joining me. Got a good show scheduled for you guys tonight. Going to talk a little recruiting, going to talk a little bit of returning production for the Clemson Tigers, and then end the show with a top 5 underrated spring edition. All of that coming up and more in tonight's show. Before we get into the show, though, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. We are on the road to 6,000 subscribers, and your help with that will be greatly appreciated. Hit that like button, share this video with all of your college football friends, family, anybody that likes to talk about Clemson football or college football. Share the video with them. And then last but certainly not least, if you would like to support what me and Jordan do here on the All In Show, we got the Super Chat feature available for you guys. And as you guys know, we turn it over to the comment section at the end of every single episode. And if you want to be sure that your comment and or question gets read and responded to, hit that Super Chat feature, support what we do here, and we'll be sure to respond to you. And with all of that said, and without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host, Jordan Bowman. Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
Good, man. Good, man. Glad to be back. Currently watching the boys try to, kind of close one out in the second half against Notre Dame. So my attention is going to be divided a little bit. You're going to see me look over a little bit, but I'm sure that's what we're all doing. But yeah, man, it's been a good week of Clemson athletics. Just happy to see the two, especially like spring sports, basketball is continuing to roll, and baseball is off to a nice start. Got a nice sweep over the weekend, or a 4-game sweep over the weekend, and then they won their midweek game. So got South Carolina coming up. It's an exciting time for Clemson athletics. Other than that, my week's been good. Did you see the stuff that's going on at Ole Miss?
No,
you didn't. Okay, well, that might be a conversation to have off air, but it's a story. I can't wait to tell you. But I'm sure those of you that are listening might know that are on Twitter. It's been a crazy saga. So much so that even like major college football, media and personalized are commenting on it. It has nothing to do with football. It's something. That's all I can tell you. It won't be age appropriate for this show.
That's right.
Age appropriate, but it wouldn't be appropriate for the subject matter of the show.
Yeah, family friendly show here. So we're gonna keep it clean. But yeah, man, Clemson sports in general are off to a pretty good start. You mentioned baseball. Had that big opening weekend down at the Major League field, and did pretty decent down there, and then come home to the Clemson Invitational and win all 4 of your games there. It's pretty good. Big weekend of baseball coming up this weekend with the South Carolina series. So hopefully we can come out on top for that. And seems that basketball is cruising right along if they can finish this one out against Notre Dame and continue to climb them rankings and hopefully try to get at least a little bit of respect when it comes to college basketball. It's you're hard pressed as an ACC program to get any respect, especially this year.
Oh yeah, man! It's taken forever to get Clemson to this point, but now they're sitting at 13. It's kind of surreal to see that high of a number next to Clemson's name. You're just not used to it. I think they're a 5 seed according to Joe Lunardi and have a chance to move up. And I saw some statistics like currently right now that, with Clemson's metrics, no team has ever with Clemson's metric. I can't remember the exact combo of stats, but with Clemson's metrics, no team has ever gotten lower than a top 4 seed with Clemson's metrics. So I don't know. We'll see, but they got to
break that metric.
Yeah. They're up 12 right now, so we'll see if they can hold on to it.
Yeah, it looks like they're, on the way to holding on. Still got a lot of time left in the game, so.
Oh yeah.
Lot can happen, but they're looking pretty good so far. Hope everybody out there is having a good week. Give a quick shout out to the comment section before we get started tonight. Isaac Smith in here, John Sarian, Wet Sox, Tiger Fan 24. Thank you guys so much for being in here. Getting into the comment section already. Continue to comment throughout the show. And as you guys know, me and Jordan will turn it over to you guys as soon as we are done with our planned portion of the show. Probably be a little bit of an abbreviated show tonight, but we will try to entertain as best we can nonetheless.
Indeed.
All right, let's go ahead get our graphics loaded up here.
Yeah, John said, according to Bakich, there isn't a better rivalry than Clemson and South Carolina in baseball. I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, when you think of the history of those two programs in college baseball, I mean, if we're just talking in college baseball, I think it's the best rivalry. I mean, you know, the amount of times they've both been in the top 10, the combined Omaha appearances. Obviously, South Carolina has the national championships to show for it, so that sucks. And they've also beaten you, I think, 6 times in the postseason. So that's not great. But, you know, you have the overall lead in the series. It's two of the more historic programs in college baseball that go at it every year. I like the current setup. You know, for the most part, you know, back in the day, how many times would they play a year? Like 6?
6, yeah.
Yeah, like they would play 2 separate series.
Two home and home series, yeah.
Yeah. So, but, you know, I do like this setup, you know, where, you know, you get each team gets a home game and then the neutral site.
Still there, Jordan? I think we lost him. Maybe not. Yeah, I think we lost him. All right. But yeah, as he was talking about the one in Clemson, they'll start the series this weekend in Clemson. Then they'll go neutral site in Greenville, and then finish up the series in Columbia. So hopefully the Tigers can come out on top at least winning 2 out of 3. That's the that's the plan. Wet Sox says Jordan isn't frozen. He's just doing that. Hey, he's pretty good at it, man. If he's just doing that. So shout out to him. Big win for the softball team. Shout out to the softball team for their big win today against Georgia. That was a huge win for the softball team. I'll hang out with you guys in the comment sections for a little bit while we wait and see if Jordan can hop back on here before we get into our planned portion of the show. John saying it's so weird to see an OL recruit doing so well in basketball. Yeah, absolutely. You don't typically think those guys can ball out, but yeah, Jordan does need some better internet, don't he? He definitely needs some better internet. No doubt about that. Oh, there's Dabo. They're showing Dabo on the screen of the basketball game right now. So Clemson's still up pretty good in the game. Dabo and Kathleen's chilling there. Give Jordan a couple more minutes before we dive into the show. See what you guys are talking about. You guys got any questions in the comment section while we're waiting on Jordan? Tiger Fan 24 says Clemson athletics as a whole can be one of the best years in school history. Soccer team is legit top 5. Basketball is borderline top 5. Or excuse me, baseball is borderline top 5. Basketball is top 10, and football teams should be top 5. Yeah, I mean, if all goes according to plan, all of those things look like shoo-ins for Clemson as a whole as a university this year. So looks like the softball team is going to be a little bit down. They're relying on quite a bit of freshman play this year, which is to be expected. They lost a ton of talent off of that team last year, but this baseball team is looking really good. Obviously, there's there's been some up and downs early in the season, but you expect that, right? You really don't know until 20, 25 games into the season really what they're going to look like. But they finally got the long ball going a couple times this past weekend. I know Clemson fans were in angst about Clemson going through that opening weekend down in Texas and not hitting a single long ball, getting a home run. So everybody's worried about that. They rectified this weekend with their 4 straight wins in the Clemson Invitational. Got a couple long balls. Pitching still a work in progress, but looks to be improving. So I would not doubt that this is a borderline top 5 baseball team. Definitely make a run to Omaha, and then see where it falls in the postseason. Baseball and basketball are both kind of like those sports where you're talking about Clemson basketball right now. They're ranked 13th right now, up big over Notre Dame, scores 52-37. So they look to be cruising right along towards the end of this season. But really, at the end of the day, it's going to be about what this team does in the postseason, right? Both in the ACC tournament and in the NCAA tournament, more importantly. So as great as the season has been, you mess around and get bounced in the first round of the NCAA tournament, everybody will forget kind of how good of a season that is, or a good of a season that the basketball team has had so far. One of the probably best teams that Clemson's had. So big postseason sports in both basketball and baseball in that way. Really, people only remember what you do in the postseason going forward. So we'll see. We'll see if basketball can keep it up. I mean, they're playing their best basketball right now. So we'll see if they can keep it rolling through the end of the season and then stay hot for the tournament. That's going to be key. Really, the teams that have the most success are the ones that get hot towards the end of the season and carry that into the NCAA tournament. So we'll see. But baseball's looking good too. Can't wait to see how they continue to progress. I mean, Bakich he's an awesome coach. As a fan, he's a coach that you want leading your program. Very exciting guy. Just energy, talk a little trash, very, very intense, I guess is the best way to put Bakich. What's up, Jordan? It's nice of you to join us. I was trying to keep everybody busy. We were talking basketball, we were talking baseball. I was trying my best to keep the conversation going here before we dive into the show.
Yeah, man, listen, I need to get an adapter for my Ethernet cable so I can just plug directly into my router because this is ridiculous. Spectrum. Anyway, glad to be back. Hopefully there should be no more interruptions.
Right. Spectrum better cut it out, or they're going to get a strongly worded letter. Okay.
Oh so. They will. Man, no, it's going to be a strongly worded phone call. I'm chewing some. A human is going to take my wrath because I don't
think we probably couldn't publish that phone call on the channel.
No,
not safe for family consumption there. Tiger Fan 24 says, yeah, Bakich took a bottom barrel Michigan team from 10 wins to 40 in 2 years. That's impressive as hell. Yeah, look, I've been super impressed with him since he's been in Clemson. Like I said, I love the intensity and the energy that he brings to this Clemson baseball program. It was much needed. And I think the fans really enjoy some of his antics.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun for sure. I mean, he gets it. He was here, under Leggett, even for the little time he was here. But Jack Leggett, it was every bit a part of his development as a coach, and he gets it. He understands what it means to win here. And he's really embraced the fan base. He's embraced the culture. He's implemented changes that I'm excited about. You hear about the beer garden that they're going to put.
Yeah, that's going to be cool, man.
That's going to be dope. It's
back
probably not going to happen as soon as we thought when it was initially announced, but it's in the works. And so
Brackett said we need some rowdy fans in the baseball park. So he's gonna give them a little liquid courage to liven up the stadium a bit.
Yeah. Oh, and did you see the tradition that they're doing between innings?
The fourth inning?
Yeah.
That's really cool, man.
That was really nice.
I was watching this weekend and I saw him do it for the first time, and I was like, man, that's really cool. This, it shows that he kind of gets Clemson. Clemson's always been one of those universities that does, military appreciation and things like that very well. So, he's just kind of seamlessly transitioned into the Clemson culture, and some of the stuff that he's decided to implement is really cool. And that's one of them. I thought that was really cool. All the guys that aren't on the roster or aren't playing kind of go out there and shake the hand. So it's really cool.
Yeah, it was annoying because it went viral, semi-viral amongst the Twitter crowd, and it was overwhelmingly positive. But then you had the idiots that had a problem with it. I'm like, and it's like, I don't want to get it. It made me. It just slightly irked me because it's like this is a part. It's a part of Clemson's history. I mean, they were a military college.
They used to be a military school, right?
Yeah.
They're paying homage to what Clemson University used to be.
Yeah, and it's still very much intertwined with the culture between ROTC and all the things all the things that they do for military.
God forbid they take a couple more minutes to honor some veterans that decided to come support.
Right, and it's between innings that they're not doing it during the game. They're not stopping anything. They're not. It is a harmless, quick, just salute, tribute. And it's community engagement for the players. Especially like the players that aren't playing. It's ingraining and enshrining and ingratiating yourself with the fan base and with a fan base and a part of the fan base in particular that means a lot to the school in general. So it's like I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand any criticism for that. Never will. But hey, I guess there's people out there that could literally criticize anything. So whatever. we'll leave those miserable people to themselves. All right, well, I guess we should go ahead and get this show kicked off. The Elite Retreat, Jordan, is coming up very soon, early March 8th, I think, is the date, the new date for the Elite Retreat, the Elite Junior Retreat for the Clemson Tigers. Obviously, going to be a huge recruiting event for Clemson. 2026 recruiting cycle is in full swing. Clemson is going after a ton of players. We talked last week about all the offensive line targets that Clemson was going to go after, having 13 scholarship offers out there. And we talked about the intensity in which the coaching staff is kind of approaching this 2026 recruiting class with, because as we mentioned, because of how 2025 went down and how we lost 6-7 of our top recruits late in the cycle to other schools who just outbid and took key players in that 2025 class away. We ended up, putting together a fairly decent class, but obviously 2025 was not the class that Clemson wanted it to be. So this Elite Retreat is super important. This 2026 class, Clemson's got to autocorrect. They got to get rolling back in the right direction when it comes to recruiting. So what do you expect from this Elite Retreat? How many guys are going to be here? And how pivotal is this going to be for some of these guys' commitments when it comes to this 2026 cycle?
Yeah, I think my Wi-Fi is hating on me again. So if I drop out, pray for me because we're gonna there's gonna be some issues. But like a great segue and great lead in. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of the biggest junior days in recent memory, just because of, you didn't take as many as you wanted this past cycle. You're going to have a lot of departures because of all the returning production, which we'll talk about later in the show as well, that you have coming back. There's going to be a lot of spots available, come 2026. And so, it's very important for this staff to hit the ground running and really get their foot in the door in some of these major prospects. We dove deep with the offensive line. That's been a point of emphasis. I think they're probably going to take 5 if they can. So, this is, Matt Luke has done a really good job of, kind of setting that board and getting it going and underway. And they're in really good position with quite a few of these guys. And I've already mentioned them, but some of the other positions, and we'll dive deeper into the position group by position group in this class. And as far as the targets are concerned, but another big name that's been on the list for a while, Clemson is very much in the running for, is 4-star cornerback Samari Matthews out of Cornelius Huff. This is a massive recruiting battle between, Clemson is involved, South Carolina, Georgia. Like this is going to be one of them. He's arguably one of the higher prioritized, targets in this class. Mike Reed has done a good job with him. And, they're trying to get back into that Charlotte area. Cornelius is probably about 40 minutes from me, give or take, just, north of Charlotte. And so Clemson is trying to get back into that Charlotte metropolitan area, and, landing a kid of the talent of Samari Matthews would be absolutely massive. And so he's been confirmed as a visitor. And I have this list. Shout out to Austin Hannon. He has a great breakdown over on 24/7 Sports, where he has all these guys listed in a nice, neat way, so I don't have to try to write it down myself. So shout out to him, and credit goes to him. Offensive lineman Carter Scruggs from Leesburg, Virginia. I've already mentioned him. Clemson has been heavily involved with him. Penn State and Georgia are also considered to be front runners in his recruitment. That's going to be a tough one, but this will be a good opportunity for Clemson to kind of, make some ground that I think they need to make up in that one. Other visitors include 4-star defensive end Kamari Brooks out of Bogart, Georgia, 4-star wide receiver Gordon Sellers out of Providence Day. We've talked about Providence Day a good bit over the past couple of cycles, a school that Clemson is trying to get back into in terms of recruiting. Obviously you lost David Sanders last cycle to Tennessee, who's, been sweeping up the Charlotte area in the past couple of cycles. But Gordon Sellers is a guy that Clemson absolutely is prioritizing. And the addition of, oh goodness, I'm blanking on the North Carolina wide receiver coach that we added. But he's going to play a massive role in his recruitment as well. Dre Quinn, defensive end out of Norcross, Georgia. He is slated to attend. Offensive lineman Zion Giles, interior offensive lineman Grant Wise. These are some of the guys that Clemson is heavily prioritized with. Grant Wise would be a massive get, and he's recently dropped his top 5 schools, and Clemson was included. So doing a good job there. We've talked about Desmond Green, Bryce Perry White out of Buford, Georgia, another one of the top overall guys on the cycle, like in the class. This is one of the priority guys for Nick Eason and co at defensive line. I think Clemson, if I were to, say right now, call it right now, I think Clemson would be the choice. But you are battling, the likes of Georgia, Alabama. This is a recruitment that you're going to have to, continue to work through and push for. And so when he gets to campus on March 8th, that'll set a massive precedent. He's already confirmed for his official visit weekend on May 30th as well. So would be a big get for him, for Clemson. Let's see some other names that I want to mention. 4-star wide receiver Naeem Burrows out of Jacksonville, Florida. He's from he attends the Bowles School. That is a private school in Jacksonville. If you Clemson has done pretty good recently with private schools in Florida, and especially out of Tampa and other Florida's metropolitan areas, Jacksonville as well. He is one of the top wide receivers in the class overall. You're battling mainly the likes of Florida for his services, the in-state school. I think Clemson has a really good shot. They've done a really good job in his recruitment. So this March 8th date is going to be paramount. He's already confirmed his official visit. Let's see. Contavion Anderson, in-state player, goes by Polo. I love that nickname. From Roebuck, South Carolina, and he plays at Dorman. This is a kid that I think Clemson needs to get. I think this is a Clemson South Carolina battle. He's expressed, throughout his recruitment how much he likes Clemson. He's called it his dream school at different points, his dream offer at different points. Clemson was kind of slow, kind of getting the offer out to him, but they have squarely gained ground on South Carolina. And I think Clemson has a really, really good shot of ending up winning this recruitment. But again, this is a massive date for him to come in and potentially for Clemson to kind of sow the seeds, so to speak, and continue to further as he gets closer to a decision. Let's see. Chancellor Barkley, Clemson, I think, is trending really well there. He's expected to attend as well. Caden Gebhardt, the safety, from Lewis Center, Ohio. 4-star. I think this is a kid that Clemson absolutely needs to land. I think he's a Clemson kid to a T, and I think Clemson has done a good job with him so far. He's confirmed that he will be at the official visit weekend as well. Let's see any other names I want to highlight. A new addition to the elite retreat, a couple of new additions to the elite retreat in 4-star linebacker Sincere Johnson. He recently dropped a top 5 that includes the likes of Ohio State and Clemson, USC. He just, I think that, Clemson, as far as the linebacker position is concerned, needs to get involved with some big time linebacker prospects because they've kind of been behind the 8 ball, with the turnover from Wes Goodwin and the addition of Tom Allen and now Ben Boulware being inserted as that main recruiter role. He's had to make up some ground and kind of get his foot in the door on some kids. Right. And so, this is going to be massive because I think, Clemson is kind of all the positions that Clemson needs to gain the most ground on right now. I think it's linebacker because they have not gotten their foot in the door, so to speak, with a lot of big time guys as of now. So Sincere Johnson, is good that he's giving you a look and you were able to work your way into his top 5. We'll see how much the March 8th date can move the needle for him. And then the newest addition to the elite retreat is a 3-star edge, Kamarian Johnson, who Clemson is, they added late to the list when their other target, what's his name? The kid that committed to USC that has the really hard name to pronounce. Samode Kotoanga, who just recently committed to
Samode.
To recently committed to USC. So this would be another big addition for Clemson's defensive line group and the edge group in particular. So we'll see kind of how that plays out. But that's kind of the rundown. We'll continue to update you guys as we, next week especially. We'll kind of give the final look, because there can be late additions. But this is and I haven't listed everybody because I do not want to go recruit with these guys. But those are the guys I wanted to highlight. And there are more on this list, like wide receiver Connor Salmon, another wide receiver 4-star out of Maryland, another kid that Clemson is very high on the list for. So, those guys on top of the commits that have been confirmed to be there, it's going to be a big addition. It's going to be a big weekend, so to speak. Like, I believe we're sitting at how many kids is this? 30. I want to say we're up to, I think it's like 30.
It's got to be
30, 31, 32.
the biggest junior day since Dabo Sweeney's been here. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it tells you how important this class is. I mean, how many guys that we've already talked about it, how many guys that you're going to be expected to lose after this after this next season. And so, I think Clemson has done a good job sowing the seeds and getting their foot in the door for a lot of these kids. And you just got to win these battles. You can't take the L's that you did at points last offseason. You have some key battles with the likes of Ohio State, Georgia, South Carolina. You have multiple guys on this list that you're battling South Carolina for, because they've certainly upped their recruiting efforts under Shane Beamer. So it's important, especially for the kids that are in state. I know Clemson is never going to be one that's going to get a bulk of their class from in state, but the kids that you do want and you're going up against South Carolina for, you got to win those battles again, because you haven't been winning those battles as of late. And obviously losing this past season did not help. But making the college football playoff and all of that, and being able to sell, the fact that freshmen are playing a ton. The past 2 years, Clemson has been the number one team in true freshman snaps. That's a selling point. So, I think Clemson is going to lean in heavily on that as well. And I think they will be a little bit more aggressive on the NIL front as well. Just beyond the increased, pool that they have expanded from this cycle. So, I expect this to be a large class, and we'll see how many of these guys end up in the boat. But I'm pleased with Clemson's recruiting efforts overall for this cycle, and I think this could be a really good one.
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely see the renewed effort that this staff is attacking the 2026 class with. And mentioned a couple things there, and this class is I said it at the top. This class is pivotal. It can't be overstated how important the 2026 class is. And to your point, you can't lose some of these recruiting battles. You can't we can't be at the signing day or early signing day, 2025, right, December, and see 6 or 7 decommits by that time. We can't have another recruiting cycle like that. I think that's why you're seeing the increase in the intensity that the staff is going out there and recruiting with, and it looks to be paying off. I mean, you got 30 plus guys coming to the Elite Junior Day. That's the most ever, and they're widening the net a bit, and they're really honing in on some guys. So it's going to be really interesting to see and hear the interviews coming out of the Elite Junior Day in March. And then obviously you got the big recruiting day coming up in the summer that we'll cover as that gets closer as well. And that'll be a huge pivotal part. That's always the big official visit day in June, weekend in June has always been really pivotal in securing a lot of big commits for Clemson. So we'll see how that goes going forward. But, you feel really good about where the 2026 class is right now. But seeing as how 2025 went, in my mind, you just got to see the focus is just to finish, right? You can't get beat for some of these guys. You can't see these guys walk away, especially late in the recruiting cycle like it happened last year. That'll be detrimental if you allow that to happen 2 years in a row. I suspect Clemson is not going to allow that to happen. Like I said, we've mentioned that they've kind of positioned themselves at a bit of a better place as far as NIL goes. And then obviously it seems that they have a good plan going forward when this revenue sharing model does finally kick in, whenever that may be. So looking up, but again, recruiting is such a volatile thing. It is very fluid, and things can change in a literal instant. So keep our eyes on these guys. We'll keep you guys abreast to all the changes, and then give you guys that kind of final list next week heading into the Elite Junior weekend, and that big recruiting weekend. So looking forward to that, hoping that Clemson can close the deal with some of these guys. And make 2026 or make 25 that anomaly that both me and you, Jordan, believe that it is.
Exactly. I mean, that's and that's kind of a good segue into how important this season is for Clemson, and this beyond this recruiting class, you need to reassert yourselves on the football field again. And, this past season was a step in that direction. But really it started with being able to retain all of the guys that you did, not losing a single starter that had eligibility left. That kind of buy-in is going to be why this team is successful, this season. We talked about how big it was for Clemson to return those guys, but now we actually have numbers to back it up in Bill Connolly's returning production metric that he does for ESPN. Clemson is number one, as you can see on the screen. Number one in the country in returning production. Number one on offense. I believe number 7 on defense. That is, I can't tell you how much that is important. I know some people kind of roll their eyes because returning production is something that's talked about a lot every season with a lot of teams, and some of the teams that are number one on that list don't end up being good. I think Virginia Tech was number one last year, and how many games did they win? 6. Like, so it's a very case by case thing. But one thing that I think is important when you're talking about a program like that recruits at the level of Clemson, I think it's magnified because Virginia Tech doesn't have a roster full of 4 and 5 stars.
Right.
Clemson is a team that is a roster full of 4 and 5 stars, and you don't get many as a program like that that is going to more than likely send guys to the league every year. You're not typically going to be able to return enough to be in the tops at that metrics, because just by the natural notion of having the more talented players, they're going to be leaving school early to the draft, and you're going to have more guys transfer out too. Just that's the nature, because guys are sitting behind other stars, and maybe they want to go play somewhere else. So all of that is factored in, and the fact that Clemson is number one, I think it accentuates how important this season is, because you're not going to get this level of buy-in every single year, and guys coming back every single year. This is a very, very unique opportunity. Even with a program like Ohio State, who won the national championship, they had they had a lot of guys come back, but they were not number one in returning production. I think they were maybe in the top 20-ish. Because they had guys go to the draft. That's just the nature of it. But Clemson, they had guys. They did have guys go to the draft, but wasn't to the level that you're replacing a significant portion of either side of the ball. And so that's a really unique opportunity. And you got some guys that could have left to the draft to come back. So I think, especially when you look at the number one returning production on offense, I think that speaks to everything about what the capability of this team is. Having a potential Heisman candidate at quarterback, returning all of your wide receivers, and then also adding one that was productive at the FCS level. It speaks a ton. Returning all but one of your offensive linemen, your starting offensive linemen, that speaks a ton. Yep. It just, and I can't emphasize it anymore. This kind of thing kind of illustrates what we're talking about when we say that this is really a make or break year for Clemson. I'm always hesitant to be like championship or bust, and I know you agree, but if there's a year to do it, I mean, you're not going to get many opportunities like this.
Yeah, and I mean, look, and first and foremost, shout out to Bill Conley and the article over on ESPN where he published not just the top 20. He went 1 through 139, I think is or 137 is how many FBS schools there are now. So he ranked them 1 to 137. Talked about in his article a little bit about how he goes about it, balancing both the returning production plus in the new transfer portal, you have to factor in that kind of stuff. So, but when you look at the ranking and you see Clemson at the top of a ranking like that, to your point, Jordan, you do have to seize the moment. And it's not, I'm never going to come out here and be like national championship or bust. Okay. Because I just feel like that is an unrealistic expectation to start a season with. Right. But I do feel like if Clemson is really going to get the momentum continue to move back in the right direction like they did a season ago, returning to the playoffs and not winning a game in the playoffs, but they were competitive. They did look like they belonged in the playoff, right? They didn't just get blown off the field. Texas didn't just look like this team that was just head and shoulders above them. Clemson doesn't belong on the same football field as them, right? Even though, Texas did their thing, right? They won the game. Clemson kind of made it a little bit interesting towards the end, but really Texas was mostly in control of that game. But Clemson, like we said going into that playoff, they have to look like they belong, and they did, right? So last season was a big stepping stone, especially offensively. You remember the conversation talking about Clemson heading into last season. Clemson's got no wide receivers. Cade Klubnik's a turnover machine. He's a terrible quarterback. They should move on. They should go get a transfer portal quarterback to replace Cade Klubnik. Dabo Swinney, the game has passed him by. You can go on and on and on and on and on with all the narratives. And Clemson did a lot last year to quail or to kind of curb some of those narratives, but not completely, right? You still lose 3 games. You still lose 3 of your toughest games in the regular season. Unacceptable, right? You open up with a blowout loss to Georgia. You lose inexplicably to a Louisville team at home at night in Death Valley. And then you book in the season with another loss to an SEC team in South Carolina, which you should not have lost that game either. So there are some still narratives out there that Clemson needs to, overcome. They got to beat an SEC team, right? Now they're going to get a crack game 1 against LSU, right? So that's going to be a big thing. But when you're looking at the returning production for this Clemson Tiger team, it tells you that 2025 is a year that they should be able to make a run to the playoffs. They should be able to make a run, compete for that ACC championship, hopefully win that ACC championship game. And then let's see what this team can do in the playoffs. Jordan mentioned it before, 86% of the offense is returning for 2025. 86% of the offense is returning. That's a massive number. Good for first overall in the country. That's huge. 75% of production on the defensive side of the ball is returning. That's good for 7th in the country. So it really does, in the new world of college football, where it's hard to keep depth year in and year out. If guys aren't getting significant playing time, they're looking to jump ship and for a new opportunity and to get paid from another university. That's just the name of the game that we're in the current world of college football. So it's really hard to keep quality depth around in the new age of college football, but somehow Clemson has been able to do it. And now you have this kind of, I don't want to say culminating kind of year of 2025, but you have a big year. You have a lot of proven veteran production on this team, highlighted by your quarterback, Cade Klubnik, who threw 40 touchdowns last year. So this truly is the year where Clemson needs to turn that corner and start climbing back up that mountain and start putting themselves back in the conversation of college football's biggest, best programs. and it starts in 2025. This has got to be a year where Clemson goes out and dominates the ACC, gets themselves another ACC championship game, returns to the playoff, and then we'll see what happens. I'm not going to come out here and say national championship or bust, but I do think Clemson should play for and win the ACC championship game and then go to the playoffs, and we'll see how it shakes out after that. We don't know what the rest of the teams in college football look like right now, but I feel like, honestly, here today, way too early expectations for the 2025 Clemson team for me is ACC champions. I feel like that is, like, at a minimum, that's where this team needs to end come December of 2025. They need to be hoisting another ACC championship trophy and looking to the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. And I think honestly, I could go a step further. I think this team absolutely should expect to at least win a playoff game.
Yes,
and if you're in it, and I think ultimately, if you're in the position that you are where you're winning the ACC championship, you need to be a top 4 seed.
You better.
I don't think you can be you can't have a season like you did this year. I don't think that would be the standard. Where you won the ACC, but you were the 12th team in, and obviously you had to play Texas in the first round, and obviously the seeding still has its own issues. So it's not a perfect system, but ultimately I think this team absolutely has the potential to make a run. But you need to win the ACC championship. That's got to be priority number one. I think you need to win your opener. Not for the season has to be the season revolves around this opener against LSU, but for the momentum of the season, for the perception of the program, it's going to be a massive recruiting. It's going to be a massive recruiting tool for Clemson.
Clemson has to
need to win that game.
Yeah, they have to,
and then you need to win. You got, I think, 7-1 in conference play, 6-2, 7-1. I think in conference play.
7-1. Yeah,
I think should be the expectation.
I think you can afford to drop a game. It's hard to sit there and go out there and be like, you got to win every single game. You can't, drop the ball once. But yeah, 7-1, and you have to win that LSU game. It's just like you have to win that game.
Yeah.
You have to get the SEC monkey off your back. You got to prove that you're back to beating at least towards the top level SEC teams, right? You lost to all 3 SEC teams you played last year. That's a fair narrative that is out there about Clemson. I mean, I know it doesn't make me happy as a Clemson fan to have to swallow that, but it's true. You lost to all the SEC teams you played last year. I mean, so they have to win that LSU game. That is an extremely important game, not because of the whole argument of the Death Valley this, Death Valley that. That's fun to do as fans, and that's fun to do with the trash talk. But yeah, Jordan, to your point, for the national narrative around Clemson to start changing, they 1,000% have to win that opener.
Well, yeah, it's important, and this. And you touched on it, the narratives about the SEC, the narratives about Clemson, all of those. Yeah. I know they ultimately don't matter as far as what this team is capable of, but for the perception, it does. For off the field, in terms of recruiting, that kind of stuff does matter, and I think and momentum does exist. Throughout a season, you can get things going. You can string some wins together. But obviously, it's not a make or break. But I think Clemson, they need to treat it as such. And I think, the preparation this offseason, all of that is going to be building up towards that LSU game, because they have a lot of, they were fairly high up there on the returning production metric as well. Yeah. And, they brought in a lot of transfers that are factored into that as well. But that still matters. And, they're extremely talented football team. Brian Kelly is a good coach. I still believe he's a good coach. but he has his own shortcomings as far as running a program to the degree that they would need to be a national championship contender. But you're facing another Heisman candidate at quarterback, a retooled defense. They have some talent at the skill positions. They have to replace their 2 tackles, but it's still a very, very talented football team coming into your stadium. You gotta quell that narrative, and so
absolutely.
And you can't afford to lose to South Carolina, and you can't lose to South Carolina.
No,
you can't.
No, no. I
I
know it's on the road.
You got to go into Williams-Brice. You got to win that game.
Yeah, I know it's on the road, but it doesn't matter. Clemson cannot lose that game. You can't bookend your season again with SEC losses. You can't have a repeat of that, right? So you have to win those 2 games. You got to go at least 7-1 in the conference. Go to the conference championship, win that, and to your point, win a playoff game. I think, this 2025 team, with the amount of veteran returning production that you have, senior guys on the team, guys that have been around for a while, guys that know this program in and out, ultra talented guys. Because you look to, if you look to the 2026 season, it's not that Clemson's going to fall off a cliff, but you're going to lose a lot at the end of the 2025 season. You're going to lose a ton. So you got to seize the moment while it's here. And that moment is 2025 for the Clemson Tigers. They really have to capitalize on a huge opportunity that they have. They have an opportunity to go out there and prove the nation wrong. They have an opportunity to start reversing a lot of these narratives that are around Clemson about how their best behind them. They're no longer a program that can legitimately compete for a national championship. Dabo's kind of let modern day college football pass them by. They don't use the transfer portal. They don't this, they don't that, right? You can really go a long way in kind of reversing a lot of these narratives. And it starts week 1 against LSU. And then, it'll end with whatever Clemson is able to do in the college football playoff. So it's big opportunity for the Tigers. And, every single Clemson fan out there should have very high expectations this year. And I don't think that is unrealistic of any Clemson fan to think or expect.
Yeah, this internet is killing me.
All right,
it's been buffering, so it's kind of been that's kind of why I've been refreshing, because you're going in and out on my end. I'm sure we sound fine together, but it's to the point where I can't even understand. But I did catch most of that, but I don't know if you asked me a question or not.
No. This is you're good. You're good.
My internet is fighting me today.
But no, I was just saying that 2025 is Clemson's year, so they have to seize the moment, and I don't think it's unrealistic of any Clemson fan to have very high expectations this season. I think every Clemson fan should. So let's power through this. Make sure you guys are checking out the new channel and the new show called On the Move every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check it out. Talking about all things transfer portal, all things recruiting, any sort of movement in college football. Go check out On the Move every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Over on the Voice of College Football. Also, be checking out the Voice of College Football official X page over on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, the Voice of College Football Network, the official account for the Voice of College Football, the best debate, discussion, and analysis with no offseason. This is where a lot of the videos are posted, show reminders, information about college football, all sorts of stuff about the network. go give it a follow over on X. Also, while you're at that, go ahead and give Jordan a follow over there. There's his X handle right there. Make sure you're checking that out. It's going to be great. All right, let's get into our last segment of the night so that we can move right along before both of our internets die. All right. With the returning production that Clemson has, there's a lot of big names that have been talked about throughout the season, a lot of big names that have kind of are just the key guys that everyone talks about. When you talk about Clemson football, anytime they're previewing the 2025 season, anytime they're talking about spring practice, anytime they're talking anything Clemson football, there are certain names that just come to mind that just get talked about, right? First name that comes to mind is Cade Klubnik, quarterback for the Clemson Tigers, 40 touchdowns, had an amazing junior season for the Clemson Tigers, right? Took a huge step forward. So everybody talks about him, right? Everybody talks about the freshman edition of TJ Moore and Brian Wesco and all of these guys that kind of burst onto the scene for their freshman campaigns and really rejuvenated a wide receiver room that was, left a lot to be desired in the previous, 2 to 3 seasons leading up to the 2024 season. So you get a lot of talk about Cade. You get a lot of talk about TJ Moore, Brian Wesco, Antonio Williams. You get a lot of talk about some of your guys on the defensive side of the ball, a TJ Parker, a Peter Woods, a DeMonte Capehart, these type of guys. You get a lot of conversations and a lot of people pointing these guys out. Avion Terrell, Sammy Brown. Guys like that, they're constantly the names that are brought up when anybody talks about Clemson football. So what I wanted to do tonight is me and Jordan to come on here and do our top 5 underrated spring edition. So basically the top 5 guys, according to us, that don't get talked about enough or underrated, or we feel like may burst onto the scene this spring, this fall camp, and into the 2025 season. So you guys follow along with me in the comment section. Post guys that you think are underrated or under talked about when it comes to Clemson football, and guys that you can foresee contributing in a big way for the 2025 version of the Clemson Tigers. I'm going to start off with my list. I'm going to go in no really particular order. I just got 5 guys written down here that I'm going to talk a little bit about. So first and foremost, I'm going on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going the offensive line. I'm going the big dudes up front. Big guys got to stick together. And my first guy on the list is Elijah Thurman, 4-star, former 4-star, 6'4", 310-pound, a guy that came in and started a game this past season. Did a lot of good when he got his opportunities. Unfortunately, tore his knee up late in the season and obviously went out, had to have surgery and all that kind of stuff. But he is an underrated guy, a guy that not a lot of people are talking about right now when they talk about Clemson football. I think Elijah Thurman could be a huge addition to that offensive line this year and really carve out a big role for himself if all things are good to go with his knee and he's fully healthy and ready to get back to work. So Elijah Thurman is first and foremost on my list. Darian Mayo, number 2, 6'7", up to 265 pounds. I think when he first came on campus, he was about 250. So he's 265 according to the Clemson roster now. So 15 pounds he's packed on in that redshirt freshman season. Obviously, he did not play last year. He was redshirted, didn't get very many opportunities. But this is a guy that I could see contributing in a big way on that edge position for the Clemson Tigers. We know going into the season, TJ Parker, right? Absolutely. He's going to give you everything you want, right, along that edge. But we have some depth issues when it comes to the edge position. We ran into it a lot last year. So I think Darian Mayo could be a guy that kind of comes in and really does a big thing for the Clemson Tigers and their edge position. So that's my number 2 guy. My number 3 guy is a guy on the offense, switch back to the offensive side of the ball, and I'm going to go with the wideout position, a guy that I don't know if people have forgotten about, or it's just, Diggs has got it in there, or it's just because he spent all season kind of rehabbing and injured and didn't really get a lot of opportunity, kind of reminiscent of Antonio Williams, his sophomore season, right? Tyler Brown is who I'm talking about, had a breakout freshman season, right? Kind of our one and only bright spot in the wide receiver room in 2023, right? Had a huge season, couldn't have done the things that we did without him. He was a pivotal role in that offense. And then last year in 2024, he kind of spends his entire sophomore campaign just banged up and hurt and just couldn't get right. Like I said, really reminiscent of Antonio Williams and how his sophomore campaign went. We just saw how his junior campaign went. So I expect the exact same out of Tyler Brown. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this guy. A lot of people are forgetting the skill set that he possesses and the big play guy that he can be, and the things that he can do with the ball in his hands when he's out in space. Excited to see what his junior campaign looks like. Hopefully it's a healthy one and he can stay on the field. And I think he'll be a big addition to this offense. So hopefully he can stay healthy. And I think if he does, it's going to be a big breakout junior campaign for Tyler Brown. Look for him to be a big contributor on this offense. Number 4, switching back to the defensive side of the ball, I'm going defensive tackles to Phylon Green, a guy that as the season went on this year, you saw him more and more. You saw him carve out a role for himself. I think that continues into the 2025 season. Not a guy that necessarily gets a lot of talk about him or a lot of publicity, but a guy that I think is just going to continue to get better and continue to carve out a bigger and bigger role as the season moves on. Phylon Green, one of Jordan's favorite players to talk about on here. So he's in my number 4 spot. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Number 5, I have Tavoy Fegan, cornerback for the Clemson Tigers, former 4-star. He's a guy that redshirted last year. I think he probably needed that red shirt. He needed to, just kind of get into the weight room, develop his body, just get right. And I think he did that. I think he can be a big key point for this cornerback room as we move forward in the 2025 season. So that's my 5 underrated players for the 2025 season, guys that I think can contribute in a big way for the Clemson Tigers and guys that aren't necessarily talked about the most. Elijah Thurman, Darian Mayo, Tyler Brown, Phylon Green, Tavoy Fegan. That's my 5. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. If you guys got anybody to add, let me know. Go ahead and get into the comment section and let me know who you got that you think would be a good addition or that I left out on my top 5 underrated spring edition for the 2025 season. But we'll go ahead and leave that there. I want to bring your guys' attention to, let's see, give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. Working solo here. All right, bring your guys' attention to Mark Rogers' book, Disputed National Champions. You can get it over on Amazon. You can get it on the Kindle app for 99 cents. It's $9.99 over on Amazon for a paperback. Go check it out. If you guys are interested in the history of college football, how college football operated or selected championships in the 90s, this is a great book to go check out. And it's written by our very own Mark Rogers. So go support, get the book. It's a really short read. It's a really easy read, but very informative. And it dives into all the things about the 1990s and that pivotal decade that kind of reshaped the sport, and how champions were selected and just the craziness that went on in college football back then. So if that's something that you're interested in, I encourage you guys to head over to Amazon. Go check it out. It's called Disputed National Champions, written by our very own Mark Rogers. I appreciate your guys' support with that, and I know he will as well. All right, with that said, guys, that is the planned portion of the show tonight. I know it's a little bit shorter than usual, but I'll hang out with you guys for a little bit or a couple minutes here in the comment section and answer any questions or talk about any topics that you guys would like me to talk about. I see Jordan's Wi-Fi is a huge point of emphasis on this show tonight. He struggled a bit tonight, but hey, it happens. Technical difficulties, it's always one of those things that they get us. But I'll get to some of your comments here. Scroll up to the top so I get some of the earlier ones. Let's see. Talking about basketball. Oh yeah, the basketball team did win tonight. So big win over Notre Dame. So shout out to the basketball team for continuing to truck on, man. Like I said, they're continuing that momentum, playing really well. Hopefully we can see them make a run in this NCAA tournament. Let's see. Looking for some comments here, guys. John Smith says, to me, it will be more up to Allen and the defense to make a statement versus LSU. Offense finished off proving that they can click versus a very good defense in the college football playoff. That's a good point, John. And you make a couple good points there. So yes, the offense did leave off the season against a very stout Texas defense, specifically in the passing game. They had only allowed I think one passing touchdown all season. Cade Klubnik put 3 touchdowns up against them, against that stout secondary. So obviously proving that he is capable of sitting back and dissecting a defense and really kind of taking control of the offense, which is what he started proving down a stretch, culminating with that Texas win. Obviously, the defense left a lot to be desired last year, and that's exactly why Dabo Swinney made a change, firing Wes Goodwin, bringing in Tom Allen, and Tom Allen's got his work cut out for him, right? This defense had a massive, massive regression last year, specifically in the running game department. We had the Citadel go for almost 300 rushing yards against us. So we talked about it in last week's show about how the run defense has to be the clear, undisputed, 100% focal point for the defense in correcting it during spring practice. Like, that run defense was atrocious last year. Once they got outside the tackles, it was all over the place. Or once they broke containment, it was all over. People did it time and time again. We could never correct it in any meaningful way. Poor angles, not setting the edge. It was a litany of issues with the running game, and Tom Allen definitely has his work cut out for him. But that's exactly why Dabo brought him on. He has a very, very, very lengthy track record when it comes to producing high-level defenses. And the one good thing is he doesn't have a lack of talent to deal with. He's got a very talented group. We just have to get them schemed up properly and put them in the right positions to make the right plays. I think Tom Allen's up for the challenge, and he's going to have to be if Clemson's 2025 season is anything close to what a lot of the Clemson fans, including myself, think it could be. So Tom Allen has definitely got his work cut out for him, but I think he is very much so up for the task. So we shall see. John also says running back is still a uncertain part of the offense, no matter how much production returns. Big potential, no proof yet. Absolutely. Look, obviously the running back situation is a question mark. We saw how big of a question mark once Phil Maffa was obviously not able to go really at all. towards the end of the season. I mean, he gave it his all, and he was a soldier out there and tried to do his best. But it was clear the last 3-4 games of the season that he just physically could not perform anymore. And you saw that they didn't have a lot of trust behind him. And then Jay Haynes tears his ACL. So then in the playoff game, they're throwing Adam Randall as a running back, which, the few carries that he got against Texas, he did all right. But obviously, he didn't know any bit of pass protection. He knew a very limited amount of plays. So running back's going to be a big point of emphasis for the spring practice as well, right? We're going to have to hopefully get, hopefully get a better idea of what the depth chart looks like for that running back room. Does Gideon Davison come in and just, 1,000% just jump up and get and take the reins for that RB1? Does Eazy-E come up and kind of solidify himself and take a step forward? Is Jay Haynes, hey, at what point is he going to be healthy? And what he is, how comfortable is he with that knee injury? Guys kind of respond to those ACL surgeries all different ways, right? You think about Amari Rogers, who, he may have been even faster after his surgery. Or you think about a guy like Adam Randall, who it took him quite a bit of time to work back from those knee injuries. So there's both ends of the spectrum there. How is he going to respond? How is Jay Haynes going to respond? That remains to be seen. So huge question mark for the backfield. But, again, you need guys to step up there. You need a couple guys. We can't just have one guy like we did last year with Phil Moffitt. It can't just be, even if Gideon Davison comes in and is the clear-cut RB1, it can't just be him. We have to have guys that can step up behind him in a meaningful way and be able to produce, because we saw the detriment that it was to the Clemson offense last year towards the end of the season when Phil Moffitt could no longer go and we didn't have anybody that they truly trusted behind him. You saw how much it affected the offense. We can't do that in 2025, so that's got to be cleaned up in spring for sure. Yeah, Kevin mentioned what I already mentioned. Yeah, threw for 3 touchdowns. They only allowed 4 all year. Absolutely, yes. Desperate Man says, this is a really pivotal season upcoming, and we should have high expectations, and hopefully we can get in the running again for a natty, because we will be starting over in a lot of places in 26. Sorry, I'm texting Jordan right now. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Yes, we will be starting over in quite a few places in 2026. Like I said during the segment where we talked about all the returning talent and Clemson has to seize 2025. That's why, because 2026. I'm not saying Clemson's going to fall off a cliff, but there will be a ton more question marks heading into spring this time next year than there is right now. Although we have some question marks about this team, that we have a lot more answers than we have questions. That won't be the case in 2026. So, yes, you are correct. John says Dabo is clearly serious about winning. He continues to surprise by changing, firing, hiring, now portal. He may have another surprise or two to come to address talent needed for a good 2026. Absolutely. Look, I think all Clemson fans have been frustrated with kind of the decline of the program in recent seasons and recent years. But one thing that I never really thought, I never believed, is that Dabo Swinney was just going to ride the ship down and let it crash and burn. And this full juggernaut of Clemson that he built basically from the ground up. I never saw him just kind of resigning himself to, well, the game's passed me by. I'm just going to collect a paycheck and we're going to ride it out. He's far too much of a competitor for that. So yes, he is 1,000% locked in, ready to win. And you can see it by the changes in his hires. You can see it by him pivoting a little bit on the transfer portal and bringing in those kind of key positions that we needed this offseason. And he brought them in. So kudos to him for pivoting from guys that were not only former players, but also very close friends. I'm sure that's not easy to fire people like that. I know us as fans, we're on the outside looking in and we're like, yeah, I mean, just fire him. Obviously, he's not getting the job done. But, when you have personal relationships with people, that's not, although it's the right thing to do and although he did it, it still doesn't mean it's easy to do. So kudos to him for doing that. But that's his job. That's what he gets paid for. And that's what he did. So you guys talking about Jordan's Wi-Fi? Yeah. Yeah. Tiger Tom said his internet's acting up too. Y'all must have the same internet provider, or maybe y'all got the same computer. I don't know. I don't know if it's the computer or the internet or whatever it is, but he'll get it figured out. He's hard at work trying to get it figured out, guys. I assure you that. John says, I want to see how much progress Mayo makes. Fingers crossed he's a solid number 2. Yeah, that's my hope. And that's what I truly think he can be. I think he can come in to spell our top 2 guys, right? And really kind of carve out a role for himself. And that's what I look for him to do. He's already added 15 pounds of size. So that's a big, step forward. Now let's see how he performs come the spring game. I'm excited to spring game for that reason and hear the reports coming out of spring to kind of see how that depth chart's shaking out at defensive end at the edge position, because that's going to be key for this defense as well, right? You know what you got in the 2 starters. What do we have behind them? Tick says Jordan's pulling a no-show. No. He's not pulling a no-show. Technical difficulties. John says, sadly, Tyler Brown has not yet played a full season. I think he did his freshman year, right? Tyler Brown played a full season his freshman year. I'm pretty sure he did. Could be wrong. Pretty sure he played a full year his freshman year. And then last year, like I said, him and Antonio Williams' careers are kind of like mirroring themselves, at least so far. So, yeah, obviously, you guys remember freshman year, Antonio Williams, breakout player, amazing. And then Tyler Brown comes in, and he's kind of the breakout player because Antonio Williams was unavailable all his sophomore season. So Tyler Brown comes in that same year as a freshman and explodes onto the scene and really is one of the biggest bright spots in that wide receiver, the brightest spot in that wide receiver room all year. And then obviously this year, Tyler Brown dealing with, injury after injury, just really could never get right. So hopefully, just like Antonio Williams had that huge breakout junior year this year, our best wide receiver, hopefully Tyler Brown does something similar and has a really good year, because it's just going to take that offense up just one more notch and build the depth, the quality depth of that wide receiver room, which is what you need. Let's see. Clemson's men's basketball just won versus Notre Dame, which means they now broke the record for the most ACC wins for the Tigers. Shout out Brad Burnell. Shout out the Clemson basketball team, chugging right along. Let's keep the momentum going. Keep the momentum going into the NCAA tournament. All right. Let's see. You say he should go to Walmart? Dang, that's rough. He should go to Walmart. That's crazy. Golden Corral? Dang. That's crazy. Y'all ain't right, man. Y'all ain't right. Talking bad about my man Jordan. No, I'm just kidding. Kevin says, I feel confident about the defense now that Allen is the DC. Everywhere he has been seems massive improvement in his first season. I'm more worried about the running back position than anything. Yeah, like I said, running back position definitely is a huge question mark for all the reasons I stated before. But yes, to your point, there is a long track record of Tom Allen getting results early, year one, when he takes over. So that definitely gives, I think, us as fans a bit more confidence when it comes to his ability to turn around a lot of the shortcomings of this defense that we saw pop up week after week last season. So, I think because of his track record, we can expect to see a massive improvement on the defensive side of the ball this year. He said, did we even have a run defense last year? Not really. No. No, we didn't. We just keep it short and sweet. No. Talking about internet in here. Kevin says, I think Clemson has missed on multiple running backs. So it will be all on development minus Gideon, who is incredibly talented. Yeah. Like I said, I expect Gideon Davison to probably take over that RB1 spot. I think Jordan's with me on that. It's going to be about how it shakes out after him. Like I said before, we can't have just one back. We saw how that worked out last year. It wasn't good. He's going to get banged up, going to get nicked up. And when that happens, you have to have guys that can come in and take meaningful snaps and be a quality depth piece. So there's guys in there that have talent. They just have to take that next step and become contributors. Intelligent Savage, salute to you too, sir. Thank you for stopping by tonight. Appreciate you. John Sarin says, who knows? Randall could be RB2 and be an option for good enough pass pro and some carry. He could be. I know they said they're going to work Adam Randall at running back some this spring. How much do they work him in? I think still remains to be seen. I know if you look at their roster and the depth chart and all that kind of stuff, like he's still listed as a wide receiver. So how much is he going to work at wide receiver? How much is he going to work at running back? I think that question still remains to be answered. We'll probably hear at least some about that. I'm sure some of the media members ask Dabo. We'll ask the coaches about Adam Randall and if he's taking reps at running back position and how many reps he's taking if he is. So that's definitely going to be something to watch. That's a lot to learn. But again, it's a guy that knows the offense, has been under Garrett Riley for 2 seasons, albeit not as a running back, as a wide receiver. Still, you would think the familiarity with the offense would help him some. But again, we'll see. You never know. Let's see what else we got here. Randall has a lot of positives to him. Yes. Size and speed. Yes, absolutely. He does. Tell Jordan to drive to Anderson. Yeah. Yeah. Talking about Adam Randall saying he finally got blocking down as an edge receiver. Does that translate to pass blocking as a full? Maybe. Certainly can't hurt. Kevin says, I think with all Dabo's additions to the coaching staff, we will see top 15 class, at least 18 to 25 commits. Yeah, I do think this is going to be a bigger class, Kevin, obviously because of all the pieces that we will be losing at the end of 2025. And I do think this class hopefully gets closer to that top 10 mark, if not right inside the top 10, with the new concerted effort that they are placing on getting this 2026 class solidified and locked in. So you can see the concerted effort by everyone, all the coaches recruiting, and it's good to see. So hopefully the NIL stays in the right position that it needs to, because that's going to be key, right? You talk about those 6-7 guys that we lost late last cycle. A lot of that had to do with teams coming and outbidding us. And I'm not saying that Clemson, because Dabo stated it before, he's not going to get into bidding wars. But as long as Clemson can always be in the ballpark, you can sell the rest of the program, right? The reasons that Clemson's different, the things that make Clemson special, right? The Paul journey, the graduation rate, all the extracurricular, the micro internships, all the other, financial literacy, and the all the non-football stuff that they have access to, right? You can sell that stuff if you're in the ballpark when it comes to the money, which is where Clemson was lacking before, and it seems that we rectified that specifically when it came to retaining our roster after the season, which is why we are atop the Bill Conley's returning production, because we were able to get the money and keep our roster intact. Uh, Tig said, he said back in 2022, needed more talent in the running back room. Yeah. Definitely some big question marks for the running backs this spring. Mr. 2X says, how do you feel about NC State and FSU not playing a spring game this season? Hold on, let me get a drink of water. Personally, I think it's ridiculous. The fact that, and we've talked about this on the show before, me and Jordan, but when we were talking about it, it was basically Nebraska that had done it. And I said then that I thought this was going to be something that caught on, something that became far more normal than it should be, much like when people first started sitting out of bowl games, right? So how do I feel about it? I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think it's these universities not caring about the fans. The spring game is for fan engagement. The spring game is for people to come and bring their kids and bring their family and be, excited about the players that are added to the roster, and to get autographs signed and shake hands with the players and talk to the coaches and walk around the stadium and just take in all the great things, the tailgating, the stadiums, the meet and greet with the players. It's just, it really just irritates me, honestly, that we're just at this point in college football where, me as a lifelong college football fan that grew up watching the sport and the things that make college football special and set it apart from everything else, I feel like we're slowly just chipping away at all of those things. And spring games are another one where it's just you're taking the things that make college football special and different, um, and you're stripping them away. And it's just going to grow, right? It's not going to end with NC State and FSU and Nebraska and USC and Texas and Mizzou and whoever else is deciding not to do it. Um, I'm glad Clemson is still having a spring game. I hope that they never get rid of the spring game. And I hear the arguments out there, the reasons that they're getting rid of the spring game. Well, coaches don't really take a whole lot from the spring game. Players may get injured. The transfer portal, somebody may come poach my players. Look, at the end of the day, I don't care. The spring games are about the fans. And if that's the only benefit that comes from a spring game, I think that's enough. Why can't it just be about the fans? With all the money that gets pumped into college football because of people like me and you that watch the sport and go to the games and buy the memorabilia, and donate to the, to IPTE or donate to this or donate to that. Why can't they do something just for the fans? Why is that not enough to continue to do it? That's what irritates me about it. Players can get hurt. Players can get hurt doing anything. They're doing off-season workouts. Spring practice starts Friday for Clemson. Somebody can get hurt in practice. They do closed scrimmages all the time in spring practice. I think they do 3 of them, the third one being the spring game. But they do 2 other spring scrimmages during spring practice. Can they not get hurt in that scrimmage? So what's the difference in the spring game, right? And I'm not talking about Clemson because they're continuing to do the spring game, but some of these other universities, players can get hurt. Well, they can get hurt, lifting weights in the weight room or doing off-season conditioning or doing whatever. That's always a risk. And as far as the transfer portal thing, I mean, I get it, but I just don't think that's a good reason to stop doing spring games. I think it's too valuable for the fans, and I think it should continue. And it's one of those unique things in college football that make it special. And it's unfortunate that some universities are choosing to say, basically, in my mind, the fans don't matter enough. We're not going to do that. It's unfortunate. I'm not saying all the new changes to college football have been all bad. I really liked the 12-team playoff. I thought it was pretty good. Maybe the seeding could be adjusted a little bit, but overall, I think the first iteration of the 12-team playoff was, a success. I don't hate all the changes in college football. I don't like them all, obviously. We've talked about them on the channel. But when you just start stripping away stuff like that, it's unfortunate. It lessens the things that we grew up loving about the sport, and they're just slowly disappearing. And that's unfortunate. Let's see. Moving on from that. Thank you for the question, though, Mr. 2X. Excuse me, guys. The one thing that I want to see out of the defense this spring is that they learned how to tackle. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Intelligent Savage, with the spring game transfer portal window opening, does Clemson make up the difference lost from last year's class coming in? If so, the difference is about 3 or 4. Would you like to see offense or defense make up? So as far as making up a difference from last year, no, I don't think they will do that. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, right? Because here's the thing: are we going to go down to 105 on the roster? Because if so, we're way over, right? And you got to cut people. You got to cut a lot of your walk-ons and stuff like that. Jordan, what's up, man? It's good to see you.
Oh my God, you sound clear. You're not breaking up. Oh my goodness, I am a genius. No, it seriously, I want to apologize because that was ridiculous. That is as bad as it's ever
He's
gotten.
back.
And it waited till we started the show because my internet was fine. Like we were talking to each other just normal backstage. I was able to load everything. I even had the basketball stream on. I closed it out when we started the show so it wouldn't be interfering with the StreamYard with the stream. And then I put it on my phone. So I have no idea what happened. So what I did was first try restarting my laptop, and then and then when that happened, it installed an automatic update. So while I'm sitting there waiting for the automatic update to install, I noticed my phone doesn't have Wi-Fi. So then I have to go and restart my modem, and I didn't have the link to the StreamYard, so I couldn't join from my phone. So I was sitting there waiting for the modem to restart and for my laptop to go through its update. Dude.
The joys of technology. The joys of technology. Sorry, I just saw your message to send you the.
It's all good. You held it down, man. I had it up. I had the stream up at different points. You did phenomenal.
Yeah. Just been going through the questions. Just got finished with a question about the spring games, FSU and all those people canceling their spring game. Although FSU was like, we're canceling it due to renovations to the stadium. I don't believe that. You can play it somewhere else. Miami's playing their spring game somewhere else. They're not playing at Hard Rock Stadium, so don't believe it. You still there? Did you drop off again? Oh no. Might be out of commission again. All right, let's get to a couple more questions here, and then we'll hop up out of here. He fell off again. All right, so I'll finish up with one or two more questions, and then we'll get up out of here, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Got 26 people in the live chat right now. Hit that like button if you have not already. Get me as close to the 26 mark as we possibly can. It really helps us out on the live videos. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. We do the All In Show, me and Jordan, right here every Wednesday, 8 p.m., year-round. Whether it's the off-season or we're in season, we're doing this show year-round. So hope you guys will stick around, hang out with us. You don't have to be a Clemson fan. But if you are, then, that helps. Oh, let's get Jordan back here. What's up, man? You back with us?
Yeah, I had a feeling that when I started talking too soon that it was going to do that. So I was able to grab the link real quick, make sure I had it. So we should be good. I'm on cellular data. I'm not going to restart my router again. I'm not doing it. It's just this.
There we go. It'll start working as soon as the show's over. I guarantee it.
Yeah, 100%. That's just how it goes.
But I'll let you tackle this question. I started to answer it, but I'll let you tackle it. Intelligent Savage says, with spring transfer portal window opening, does Clemson make up the difference lost from this year's class coming in? If so, the difference is about 3 or 4. Would you like to see that offense or defense makeup?
Yeah, I don't. I can't anticipate that Clemson will be aggressive in the spring portal window. With the scholarship situation, I mean, it's kind of up in the air. So I'm not totally. I don't totally expect them to do that. I think this window was a good opportunity for them to address some needs. I don't, barring like an exodus in the spring portal window. I don't expect them to be like super active or try to make up for the loss, from the recruiting class. I think you're going to see a lot of the numbers being made up in this next recruiting cycle. But we'll see. That's always something that they're going to be monitoring, is whether or not they need to make those changes. So or make those additions. Whether it's a depth concern, whether the injuries, whatever it is. So I can't say that's something that they will definitely do, but I'm not ruling it out. But I would lean towards them not doing it, unless you have guys transfer out of the program that you're not necessarily expecting to.
John Sarin says schools should schedule real scrimmages in the spring and use up one of the FCF game slots they waste during the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's been proposed a good bit. It's not, there are some logistics that they would have to work out, because, that as far as, some of these schools rely on those, some of these FCS schools rely on those games during the season. It depends, but I mean, I guess you theoretically could still, it doesn't stop you from paying them, but I don't know. There's probably logistics of playing it in the spring that would have to be worked out. But I think that I don't hate that at all. But I in terms of like the concerns about poaching kids, being poached and stuff like that. I mean, that wouldn't really address anything, because it would still be more than likely it would be a televised thing.
Yeah.
So,
keep the same kind of scenario. I think paranoia concerning the spring games has set in amongst coaches. They live in fear about player pinching.
Yeah. I mean, it has for some. With Clemson, I know that they've sent out a spring schedule. They have no plans of making any changes in that regard. But for some coaches, it is a concern.
Not. They better not.
They better not. It's a great recruiting opportunity. I mean, for schools that are just they don't have the overall roster where they can afford to lose some of their top end guys. It makes a lot of sense, but I don't know we'll see if it becomes a widespread thing. But yeah, the news about NC State and Nebraska, Florida State, like,
in my mind, it's just, to me, it's an excuse. Like, I get it, a televised spring game, somebody could see a guy and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go try to get him." Like, was that dude gonna stay anyway? Like, I don't, I mean, I don't know, man. I get the logic there a little bit. I guess I just don't care about it. Like, I'm just, I think canceling spring games is ridiculous. And it just, I don't know. I just hate seeing another thing that we love about college football getting stripped away because of NIL or transfer or whatever else has been added to college football in recent years. It's just becoming a lot when it comes to the things that are stripping away at the fabric of what college football is. It's always been different. It's always been special. It's always been unique in a lot of ways. And I feel like the further we go down this path, the more we're losing the uniqueness of college football and what really makes it stand out apart from any other sport. But that's just my opinion. They're gonna do what they want to do. I hope Clemson is not one of the universities that follow suit with it, but who knows? Anything can happen in college football now. I just, why can't we tackle a tampering issue or a pay for play issue instead of canceling spring games? How about let's do that? How about let's fix the real problems of the sport? Spring games aren't the problem. Tampering's the problem. Pay for play is the problem. So fix NIL, fix tampering, and you won't have to worry about the spring games. Like you're not fixing the problems. You're just, I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah, I'm with you, and it's frustrating that these changes are stripping away what we've come to know about the sport. I mean, it's the tradition, the pageantry of the spring game, and just the overall fan experience. I mean, going to spring games, as a Clemson fan is one of the most fun parts. You get to see it's free. It's great for families. You get to go out and meet the players afterwards. The players enjoy it too. Like it sucks.
I'm not, and it's like spring games are so much fun because like I'm not saying they're better than like a game day experience, but like they're up there, man. Like they're pretty cool. If you've ever been to a spring game and all the festivities and stuff that they do, I can only speak for Clemson. I don't know what all the other universities do, but the autograph signing and the meet and greet with the players and the coaches, and it's a really cool experience. The Tiger Walk at a with less people, right? So it just feels like a more intimate environment. Like you get to interact with the players and coaches in a different way, right? Because one, there's less people. Two, there's not a real game to play. And everybody's just kind of chilling and relaxing. Everybody's in a good mood. You can't lose the game. That's always a plus, right? But I just can't imagine I can't imagine spring games not being a thing, but clearly we are in the process of getting rid of spring games. So we'll see. We started with Nebraska, and now we're I don't even know how many universities we're up to now. Southern Cal, Texas, Mizzou, Florida State. Whoever else. All right. Let's see. Player poaching is real. I wonder how much the spring games cause more of it. My hunch is very little. Well, according to Nebraska, it causes all of it. So, does Ricardo Jones start at safety this season?
I mean, at any point this season, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And who knows? Maybe he does run out there week one, but I do think by the end of the season, I think Ricardo Jones will be a starter. That's just my prognostication. I
agree. Will the transfers hit the field game one?
I think so. Yes. I think all of them will play in some capacity. Yeah.
Yeah, what Intelligent Savage said. Hit that like button. Tig says college football has become the minor leagues. Like in basketball, the next thing we will see is NFL sponsorship.
I don't know if the NFL will ever want to do that, because then at that point, the college football is basically a free minor league that the NFL doesn't have to govern or take care of at all. Like, right. Obviously with Major League Baseball, the minor leagues are all affiliated and funded by the their farm or their parent team. And there's multiple leagues, and you have to pay them, and there's a pay structure, and there's a schedule, and all of that. That would give structure to the sport, but the NFL would never go for that. The college football has been developing players for them for so long. And we're talking about football, so it's a different sport altogether. With baseball, you have kids that can come out straight out of high school at 17, 18, get drafted. They're not always ready to play in the majors, but you can stash them away in the minors and they'll do fine, and you bring them up. The NFL, the football is not necessarily analogous because there's so much physical and mental development that you have to go through between in those years. The 17 to 22, 23-year-old, like that. There's not many. There's very few 17, 18-year-olds that could come straight out of high school and play in the NFL. Those are extremely, 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 extremely rare. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Jeremiah Smith could have done it. I don't know. There's not many. There's not many names I would say could have come out of high school and played in the league. Just no. You don't come in with an NFL body, NFL, nutrition mindset, all of that in the development of the physical development of an adult, like that. That has to be. That has to be developed, and college football strength programs and just football programs in general have been doing that for the NFL for free for ages. So I don't think you'll ever see the NFL get involved because why spend that kind of money when they don't have to?
Mike was muted there. My bad. Who are y'all most intrigued by for Clemson at the Combine? Most intrigued for the Combine. I guess for me, it'd be Barrett Carter, just to kind of see how he stacks up. I'm just interested to see what they think of him, right? Because I feel like in some ways he kind of underperformed his final season and maybe even the season before a little bit as well. But his size, his speed is, it's all right there where it needs to be. So I'm interested to see how they perceive him with some of the ups and downs that he had in his final 2 seasons as a Tiger. So I guess that's who I'm most intrigued by.
Yeah, Barrett Carter is a good pick. I'm interested in Jake Brenningstool because I think the measurables are going to be a question mark for him. He's not a very big, imposing tight end. So they're going to want to know his wingspan. I hope he runs well. Hand size, all those types of metrics. Because I think Jake is going to have to be in a system where he's going to be more of a flex Y type of tight end. You're not going to see him in line very much blocking. There's certain.
Sounds like a good replacement for an aging Travis Kelce.
Yeah, but with Kelce, he still can block. So that is at least somewhat. So,
but he's not your traditional tight end blocker.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not your traditional.
He's more of your flex out guy.
Yeah. So, but there's certain systems I think he would do well in. Some he probably wouldn't be a fit. So I think he's going to have to test really well. In the drills, they're going to want to see how well I think he's a really good route runner. He moves very well. So I think they'll see that, but I do think he needs to test very well from the athletic trait standpoint because he's not the biggest guy in the world, especially when you compare him to some of the other tight ends in the class. I mean, even obviously Tyler Warren is going to get a ton of love. Colston Loveland, Harold Fandon Jr. Like Jake is smaller than all of those guys, and Warren is a guy that can flex out and block in line. But even guys like Colston Loveland, who's more of a receiver type, pure receiving type, Harold Fannin, like they still have like at least like 10, 15 pounds on Jake. So he's going to have to put. I wondered like how he'll weigh in at the combine versus what he did during the Senior Bowl, but I do think that's going to be a determining factor in kind of where he kind of gets drafted. And we won't be able to see Phil because
he's not going to be ready.
He's not going to be ready. So he'll go through the interview process and all of that, and we'll see kind of how that works out for him. But yeah, I think Barrett Carter and Jake Burningstool, I think, can make themselves the most money with a good product or a good combine.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely wish the best for both of those guys. Mr. 2X says, I think college football is going to be almost unbearable to watch here in the next 5 years. I hope not. SEC and Big Ten have way too much power and honestly just ruining everything. Go Tigers, though. They have all the power. Now. So, I mean, it is what it is going forward. The 10 conference commissioners and Notre Dame's athletic director signed off on it because they threatened to leave otherwise. So, yeah, I don't think it's ideal for the future or the health of college football as a whole to have two conferences kind of in charge of the whole thing. But here we are. We'll see how it goes. Is SMU having a spring game? I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Not sure.
Maybe something to look up. But my laptop.
Time
to get a new one anyway. But Wi-Fi is was the main for tonight.
Sure.
Kind of a
complex factor. We'll take two more and then we'll get out of here. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. My question is, where's the NCAA at? Can they not put sanctions or some type of rules to stop colleges from just doing whatever they want when it comes to player poaching? No, they can't do anything. Every time they try to do something, they get drug in court and they lose. So they got no power. They got no teeth. They can't do anything. Even if they wanted to do something, they're gonna lose in court.
Yeah, it's been tied up in a lot of legal language and with these court cases, and so it's left the NCAA basically, unable to enforce anything. Even the rules they do have against tampering, like they aren't really getting enforced because they'll just get sued.
All right, this is an interesting question. We'll end on this one. This is a good one from Intelligent Savage. If you had superpowers to hand out one player on offense and one player on defense to make us over the top, who would you give them to? No Kate Klubnik, no Peter Woods.
Shoot. That's tough. I can't. Yeah, I mean, you can't say Kate Klubnik and Peter Woods are arguably the two best players on the side.
I'm pretty sure that's why he excluded them for us. He knew exactly where we were going with it.
That's a tough one, man. Okay, so for to take us over the top. That's okay. I guess for defense.
I think I got my two. Go ahead. You go first.
I'm not even sure I have my offense yet, but for defense, I'm going to go with Will Helt, because I think if you're truly dominant at both edge positions, teams, everything else behind that can be covered up. Everything, like you can work around any deficiencies. You have maybe at safety. Like it takes pressure off of everybody else. Especially with what you already have up the middle. I would go with Will Help, or honestly any one of the other defensive ends not named T.J. Parker. Because if Will Help's really good already, then it would be great to have, a Darian Mayo step up, or
Right.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. So like, or not Shaq Lawson, Jaheim Lawson, takes that next step, or name your defensive end. So I don't know if I feel great about that one. I thought about picking a safety, but having two dominant edge rushers, as we saw with our in-state rival, I mean with Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart, like when you're dominant at defensive end, like that everything else can kind of take care of itself. I mean, and they were good on at linebacker and mostly on the back end, but those guys were took so much of the attention, like it took pressure off of everybody else, and they were really good at defensive tackle too. So they have three guys at the combine at defensive tackle. So I think that's what I would go with, but I don't know if I feel great about that. I'm going to let you do. Well, I think of my offense. You can go with your two.
Defense, I'm going to go. I think you made me change my answer. So because you got me thinking, I'm going to go safety, and I'm going to go Khalil Barnes.
Yeah, okay. He was up there for me
because that's because I think our two end positions will be solidified. I feel really good about where Sammy Brown's going to be. I feel even better about Wade Woodaz being able to be that off-ball backer year two, or not year two, year three, but just coming in another year. I feel like our starting linebackers are in a good place. Our starting defensive ends are in a good place. Tackles, well, we already know how deep that room is. Safety is a bit of a question mark, especially with the exit of an RJ Mickens. So I feel like that's probably the position group that has maybe the biggest question mark about who's going to be able to step up in a big way. We've seen Khalil Barnes be able to produce at a high level. Not so much last year, kind of, hit or miss at times last season, but a guy that can get it done. So I'd give it to him in the back end, just to kind of control the back end of that defense opposite, Avian Terrell and Shelton Lewis or Jake Lucas or Ashton Hampton. Ashton Hampton, him as well. And then offensively, I'm going to go one of my underrated guys. I'm going to go Tyler Brown. Reason being, that slot position, right? I think he could do a ton of damage there and kind of be that change of pace guy, and just be a sleeper, big play guy. I think a lot of people sleep on his ability, so I'd give it to him.
That's a good one. Okay, for my offense, I thought Tyler Brown was on my list. Tristan Smith was on my list at wide receiver, but I think you're good enough there. Like, and honestly, like I was thinking of the offensive line and having to replace Marcus Tate.
That's a good place.
I think you're good there. With between, no matter who you.
Yeah, you got Elijah Thurman, you got Harris Sewell.
You got the most. I had to pick if I can guarantee that he's great. I think the rest of this offense is complete at tight end. Olsen Pat Henry I think he's more than ready to take that next step. you didn't have to play Christian Bentancur. You still have. I think you're fine at tight end. So like it's all about having a run game and having if you have a truly top 3, top 4 in the ACC type of back.
Yep.
Everything else will take care of itself. I think you have the quarterback, I think you have the receiving talent, you have the offensive line, you have the tight ends. I think everything else will kind of take care of itself if you have a truly special player at running back.
Yeah, I think that's really good. That makes a ton of sense. Probably a better pick than mine. Definitely need that running back to kind of complement that offense.
It's subjective.
Yeah. I think our passing game is going to be explosive anyway. So definitely having that complementary running game would go a long way with, being balanced and keeping the defenses honest. All right. Well, that was a fun question to end it with. We still got 20 people in the live chat. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back here next Wednesday, 8 p.m. to give you yet another edition of the All In Show. Hit that like button if you haven't already on your way out. Consider subscribing if you haven't. We will see you next Wednesday. Until then, I'm Tiger Paul Craven. He's Jordan Bowman. Go Tigers.